In front of you is relating to our federal aid project up near Amy Beverland Elementary School along Fox Road there. This is for the right-of-way acquisition services, commonly known as right-of-way engineering, through our consultant, DLZ. The contract, I think the price is in Appendix D, which is near the last end. It's $23,100 is the total not to exceed fee. We're asking for your approval of this contract.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Anthony?
I don't have any.
Mark, do you have any? Okay. I've spoken with legal on this. I'm going to recommend approval pending legal review. So I have a first and second. All those in favor of approval pending legal review, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. I'm going to skip forward because there's such a variety of people that look like they want to speak tonight. I'm going to jump forward to the approval of the right-of-way entry agreement. Mr. Salisbury, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hi, we're just seeking to get a right of entry signed to allow access to a property, lots 7 and 8 in the Sellers Addition, more commonly known as 4326 Sellers. This will allow us to proceed with the installation of a gravity sewer main on Allen Street as part of the improvements that are going on over in that industrial park area, pending formal easement agreement.
And that's through the economic development where they have to go clean the title up and all that stuff. Right. Is that okay? Just make sure I was clear on that. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Salisbury? No. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the right-of-way entry agreement.
I make a motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Any comments from legal?
No.
All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Third item on the agenda is the bike pedestrian plan update. Mr. Anthony.
Just a brief history real quick on this, and then I'm going to turn it over to our consultants to kind of go over our efforts thus far on the compilation of this bike pedestrian plan. This is a planning document that we're putting together. We had federal dollars awarded through the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization to fund this project, and United Consulting Engineers is our consultant who actually put the survey together and will be putting together the draft and final document for the city. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Devin Stetler with United Consulting, and he'll give you the overview, and we'll be happy answering questions that you might have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Great. For the record, would you state your name and what your position is with this survey?
My name's Devin Stetler. I work with United Consulting. I serve as the project manager for this project. I actually manage a planning and environmental services department for the company.
Okay, take it away.
Thank you. Wow, I'm very excited to see all of you tonight. This is great. As Bill indicated, my name's Devin Stetler. I work with United Consulting. We've been hired by the city and by the Indianapolis MPO to do a pedestrian and bicycle master plan for the community. We're very excited to be a part of this project. Bill stole my thunder a little bit in terms of the funding for the project, but I did want to give some props out to the local MPO. The project is funded in large part, obviously with local dollars, but there's a significant percentage of federal money involved in the project as well through the Federal Highway Administration. Using planning funds. Those funds are administered here locally through the Indianapolis Metropolitan Planning Organization. So I just wanted to give them some props as I begin. In terms of this project and what it is that we're doing, in terms of the project purpose, we're looking at trying to improve the existing pedestrian and bicycle facilities here in the city. We're not really out to identify a new alignment option or a new terrain facility for a multi-use trail or a sidewalk. We're looking at trying to look at and inventory the existing conditions of sidewalks multi-use trails, et cetera, here in the community, and try to identify if there's any gaps in those facilities, and then maybe propose remedies to fix those gaps in those facilities. You know, we're out to try to improve and provide safe routes to school, to work, you know, added recreational and leisure facilities and activities as well. One of the things that we're trying to keep mindful of as we get into this project is that there's a variety of users of these facilities in the city. There's a large percentage of users of these pedestrian and bike trails that use those facilities for recreational purposes. We also recognize that there's a significant percentage of those people that use the facilities out of necessity to get to work, to get to school, to get to places of worship. So we're trying to be mindful of that as we go through this process. One of the things too that we're trying to do, just as our employer tries to constantly remind us to live a healthy lifestyle, we think this is an opportunity for us to kind of remind everybody, all the residents of Lawrence, to be mindful of a healthy lifestyle. We think a plan such as this helps to promote that. And finally, we're mindful too that the city has, over the last 10, 15 years, spent a significant amount of time and resources kind of redeveloping and re-identifying their city core. So as we go through this plan, we're trying to be mindful that we want to use this area, the fort, as a destination and try to provide mechanisms to get people to this wonderful place, this wonderful heart of the city of Lawrence. In terms of our overall project scope, there's really 3 components. There's a public involvement process, which tonight is a part of the public involvement process. There's the actual planning part that Aaron and I are involved with, actually producing the master plan for the bike ped master plan. And then another deliverable that we'll be involved with too is putting together some engineers' reports or documents for several projects that might rise to the point where we think it makes a lot of sense to maybe construct those facilities. So there's really three components to what we're directly involved with this project. In terms of what we have done up to this point, we've just completed a GIS desktop review of the existing facilities. We were able to get a hold of some files through Bill's office that identified existing sidewalk facilities here in Lawrence. And then we've also looked at other publicly available GIS files to identify multi-use trails and paths, et cetera, in the city. Once we combined those files, it served 2 purposes. It gave us a great understanding of what facilities were present here in the city of Lawrence, and then it became real apparent where there might be some gaps or holes in those facilities. So it served those two points. After we've done or completed the GIS desktop review, we field verified that information. We drove the community to see firsthand where there might be holes identified in those facilities. We were able to document those conditions seen in the community, and we were actually able to witness firsthand challenges that users of those facilities might experience as they're trying to traverse a sidewalk or a trail here in the community. And then the other thing that we've recently completed as part of our public involvement, again, tonight is one of those opportunities. We anticipate here in the next couple of months that we'll be back before you folks to present a draft document for review and comment. And then the other thing that we've just kind of coming out of is you may have seen or participated in an online survey that we just completed. We used those opportunities to gauge public support for this project, to gather any ideas, concerns, or comments from city residents. I kind of mentioned or introduced the survey. How many people in the room participated in the survey or knew about it? Good. It was nice to see. The overall responses to the survey were unbelievable. For those of you that don't know, we developed a survey during the latter months of 2017. The survey went live on the city's website in early January. We advertised the survey through the Lyft newsletter. It was unbelievable, the responses and the rate of responses that we got. We were very, very much appreciative of those responses. As of a week ago, we had over 700 responses. So that was very good. Overwhelming support from the respondents in terms of improving the city's pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Nearly all respondents recognized and were in favor of some sort of pedestrian and bicycle improvements. The improvements that were recognized by most respondents as needed were sidewalk improvements and walking trails. In terms of just some general demographics, who responded, it's not going to be a surprise to anybody. The people that responded to the survey were very well educated. Most of the people were very well educated, very well compensated. Over 50%, I think close to 60% of the respondents were females. To kind of support the fact that these improvements are welcome, or appear to be a welcome addition here in the community by the residents, we had a couple of questions, and I see the values didn't come through here, but nearly 80% of the people that responded to the survey were either in agreement or strongly agreed that if they had an opportunity to walk or bike to work or to school, that they would do so. The similar amount of percentage of people thought that Lawrence should be more walkable and bike friendly. So again, it just kind of supported the overall fuzzy feeling that we got when we were reading the respondents to the survey. We closed the survey out with, and I apologize, I know it wasn't very easy to read, but we closed the survey out by showing or including a map, and what the map showed was areas where we had preliminarily identified as gaps, missing links in the city's existing infrastructure. And we were kind of posed the question or asked the public, out of the facilities or out of the holes that we've identified, tell us which ones of those facilities you'd like to see improvements made. And I think on that survey, we showed or listed 21 sites that we had identified throughout the city. Of those locations, there were about 5 or 6 that kind of rose to the top that a lot of people thought were important, and none of these are probably going to be a surprise to any of us in the room, but a lot of people thought that making improvements along Oak Landon Road and Sunnyside Road, 75th Street, 63rd Street, Lee Road, and Boy Scout Lane, made a lot of sense. And that's not what you see there or on the board isn't a complete compilation of all the responses. Again, these are just the ones that kind of rose to the top. So where are we headed? We're about halfway through the process. Our contract, our final deliverables are due by the end of June. It's our anticipation, our hope that we're going to come in before that time period. But what we're going to do now is start working on the planning document itself. We'll take a look at the areas that we've identified as the missing links, those projects that I've referred to, and start discussing and reviewing those in a little bit more detail to see if we can clearly define what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of kind of pushing ahead with some of those projects, and we'll document those areas in a bicycle pedestrian master plan. As we get into the analysis and get into some of those projects a little bit further, we're kind of anticipating there's going to be 2 or 3 of those that are going to rise to the top that will make sense to maybe pursue constructing those projects in the near future. So with those, we're going to put together what we call an engineer's report. What that will give the city officials is a better feel for what that area would look like. Up to this point, we really haven't defined if it's going to be a sidewalk per se, or a multi-use path, or a trail. But during this stage, we can make that distinction. We'll also put together construction costs for those projects, so you have an idea of what it's going to cost to build it. We'll put together budget costs for the project, which will include engineering fees, land acquisition fees, utility costs, construction inspection. But it's going to be a document that the city can use to really have a better feel for what the facility is going to look like and what it's going to cost in real numbers. And then finally, we'll put together a schedule for the community for those projects, so that, again, they have an idea of what it's going to, the length of time that it's going to be needed for somebody to design it, for somebody to build it. So that's kind of where we're at, what we've done and where we're headed. We'd love to hear, you know, what the community has to say about the projects, or about our efforts up to this point. For those of you who didn't have the opportunity to participate in the survey, the online survey, I did bring copies of it tonight. You're welcome to fill it out and hand it to me yet tonight, or mail it back to us. I brought business cards. You're welcome to mail in a survey to us, and I'll make sure that it gets included on the information. I did also bring copies of all the maps. If people would like to take a look at some of the facilities that we've proposed, I've brought plots, 24 by 36 plots that we can pull out. And then I've also got comment sheets if people would like to just jot down comments and send back to us. So with that, I'll kind of step aside, turn it back over to the group. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. As the gentleman stated, he has business cards, he has these maps, surveys. Mr. Anthony, there was something else we had back on the back table. Could you tell the folks what that is?
Yeah, we have maps, surveys, and comment sheets.
Comment sheets, okay. Okay, so please help yourself on the way out if you want to grab one of those. We encourage that. At this time, I'll open it up to any public comments. Given the nature of the volume of people we have here, if I were to allow 3 minutes to everyone, we'd be here for an hour and a half. So anyone is welcome to speak. I ask that you come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record for the clerk. And then if you have a comment you wish to address to Mr. Anthony or the design firm, please do so, or even this board. So anyone wish to come up and speak on behalf of this, come on up.
First page.
I'm Ray Peck at 10832 Portside Court, Indianapolis. So we're right on the border of Lawrence. Again, Bill, you and your team are to be commended. This is moving forward. This is exciting to see this happen. I'm an avid biker, walker, runner. You know, we use trails and everything extensively. And one thing I'd like to point out to the consulting company on this, anything you can do to angle in the direction of multi-use trails is going to be huge. Sidewalks really aren't used that much. I mean, what I'd like to point out is if, you know, are you from Indianapolis? Just okay, I don't know if you're really from out of town. You're familiar with the Monon Trail. Like I like to tell people, imagine if it was the Monon sidewalk. No one would be on it. So the same thing goes along Fall Creek. Fall Creek, they have Fisher's built a beautiful trail from all the way up by Bella Vita, you know, the restaurant, or whatever it's called now if it's changed names, all the way down Fall Creek. That trail is packed with people on a nice day. As soon as it turns into a sidewalk, as soon as it becomes a sidewalk, it is devoid of people. There's no one on it. It just doesn't get used. So, you know, my point being, please don't build us sidewalks, build us trails. You know, you can't bike on a sidewalk, you have to bike on the road. If you build a sidewalk, people will not put their bikes on them. I don't ride on a sidewalk. You know, first of all, you can't pass anyone without hitting them. Second, for children, it's dangerous because, you know, if someone's trying to ride and walk on the sidewalk, either the person walking is going to get hit or the person on the bike is going to get knocked over trying to pass on a 5 or 6 foot sidewalk. I'm real familiar with Nick Winnell from Olco. Olco builds these sidewalks, and like for instance, the sidewalk we were talking about along Fall Creek. I'm sorry, not along Fall Creek, along Fox Road. We had that quoted, and it's a fraction of the cost of a concrete sidewalk. So again, that's my main thing is if you're doing this, you know, if this moves forward, connectivity is huge. You know, connect things, you know, having, you know, from point A to point B is wonderful, but if you can get us connected to the city of Indianapolis, that would be great. Connect us to Fort Harrison. The main thing is, you know, and I'll wrap up here, if you can connect these sidewalks or trails to Fort Harrison State Park, we would therefore be connected to the city of Indianapolis. Because once you're there in Fort Harrison, that trail connects to everything else in Indianapolis. So please remember that when you guys are designing this. Give us a multi-use trail. Give us a multi-use trail that connects us to Fort Harrison. Once it's there, again, every one of those trails goes right into Indianapolis, and you could ride all the way to the airport, basically, if you wanted to on that trail. So anyway, the other thing is Fall Creek. Putting things along Fall Creek itself, that was really difficult. Somebody tried that years ago and it was shot down. There are some discussions right now underway between the DNR and the city of Indianapolis to allow a trail to go back behind Lee Road in that area. Those conversations have, in fact, I was involved in one of them at the State House. So those are under discussion right now. So anyway, if you want more information, I'd love to get your business card. I can fill you in on what I already know based on sitting in the room with the DNR. So, but, anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, come on up.
I'm not a good public speaker. I'm going to start with that. My name is Ellen McCain. I live on Boy Scout Road, 5805 Boy Scout Road. My problem, I have multiple problems with, but my main problem is there's very poor drainage on that road. At this point, across from my house is Wallingwood, and water collects there constantly. There is no real sewage system. Our side of the road, which is the Wood side, the Fort Harrison, or the Park side, there is no drainage. Basically, our yards are the drainage. I can stand there in the rain and watch the water go down. And that's how it was naturally constructed in 1950-something. And if you add 4 feet of asphalt to my front yard, there's going to be 2 problems. One, it's going to run it back more towards my house, the water. It's already running from Wallingwood across the street and towards my yard. And second, you're going to cut down some trees. I don't see how you can do it on Boy Scout, especially on my side. With that, there are huge old trees. They're going to get cut down, and they're going to get cut down, and that's going to take the whole nature of that road away. That's why we moved there. We like trees. I grew up in Broadwell. My husband grew up in Broadwell, but we like trees. Maybe we're crazy. I don't know. As far as the sidewalk thing, my daughter and I lived on 50th Street in the old part of Lawrence for a long time. It was lots of sidewalks. People were on them all the time. Kids, my kid, her friends. It was fabulous. There was Halloween was like a festival. It was the most wonderful thing. I am not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to families. I'm not opposed to children. I'm not opposed to exercise or bicycling. I am opposed to water in my house, in my basement, and I am opposed to cutting down the trees. That's what I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to speak? Sir.
My name is Mick Meyer. I live at 5975 Boy Scout Road. I agree with most of what Ellen said too, but I'm also opposed to the bike path because it's going to increase the already heavy traffic that we have. And by increasing the traffic, whether it be vehicle, bike, or pedestrian, it's also going to increase crime. And it will also make the lanes on Boy Scout even smaller when the current lanes can barely handle the traffic as it is right now. Another thing is I'm really not willing to sacrifice any of my property for bike paths or sidewalks, as I really don't want any of the nice natural trees. Like she said, we moved to Boy Scout Road because it was a quiet, quaint, rustic road, and that's why we moved here to raise our family. And as far as I'm concerned, I want it to stay that way. And I for one, am more for closing Boy Scout Road at Fall Creek like it used to be, and just make it the nice neighborhood that it used to be in the past. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? We have a very profound system. It's called the rock, paper, scissors system. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name's Charlie Drain at 6402 Harrison Ridge Boulevard. I don't live on Boy Scout Road, so I'm not looking for anything there. I've been trying to get a east entrance to Fort Harrison Park for a number of years. And it's a roadblock because there's no paths or sidewalks to connect that entrance, and DPW will not consider putting an entrance there until there's either sidewalks or bike paths. So I guess what I would like to see, if I was doing my own master plan, would be a path that would extend from Gin Park on 63rd Street all the way to Lee Road, and then up Lee Road to the heart of Lawrence. Because there's gaps there right now, and it's too dangerous to ride on Lee Road around that curve at Lee Park. So that's basically what I'm really looking for, is a connectivity to Fort Harrison Park. It's such a great resource, and we love walking those trails, but we don't like to drive 2.5 miles for our house and park to be able to walk. So, and it's either that or climb the fence illegally, even if you have a pass, and flash your pass as you're climbing. So we don't really want to do that either. So basically, that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nathan Traylor. I live at 5888 Boy Scout Road, and I'm on the west side of Boy Scout, and I'm 100% for a bike path or a trail of some sort. My wife and I walk all the time. We have our dog, we have a stroller, and we've been almost clipped, hit multiple times whenever we try to walk out there, even just from just the corner to Wallingwood, and there's Watson before that, so a lot of times it'll take us 15, 20 minutes to go a quarter mile walking just to get to Wallingwood. Lawrence Central and also Bells are also use that trail all the time, and the kids are out there every day whenever it's warm enough for them to be out there, and they're also almost hit all the time. So that's their cross country teams that are out of not Lawrence, but their meets or whatever, the middle school and the high school. So I'm 100% for it. If not Boy Scout, maybe we could alternate that path down to Wallingwood. I don't know if that's a proposition, because it runs parallel to Boy Scout. It's a wider road, it's a quieter road, if that would be at all possible. So I understand the drainage in the trees too. I have a drainage issue too. Whenever it rains, my drain is what is at the end of the road and jets right across the street. So my driveway in my yard will get a foot of water in it whenever we get a heavy, heavy rain. So I understand the drainage issue too, which I think that would be probably solved with an engineering report with utilities getting that reworked, because you're gonna have to go down to a certain depth, and all that's gonna be taken care of in the engineering report. So I'm 100% for. My wife couldn't be here. We're dog sitting 3 dogs, so and my son was napping. So definitely for it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Good evening.
Hello, Josh Betts, 7162 Westminster Drive. I guess my focus would be from 79th-ish to at least Fort Ben area, and then if not, all the way down to Boy Scout Road, and I know that could connect if you just get it to Fort Ben. There is somewhat of a trail already existing along Fall Creek that basically goes to nowhere, and people are using it all the time. They brush their own trail through there, and it's getting a lot of use. Even with this winter, I was out a couple weeks ago, and there's a lot of foot traffic on there, but I think it would get a significant amount of use for recreation and even commuting, because I wouldn't think there's too much recreation going around when it's 2 inches in mud. So, my point is just connecting 79th Street-ish. That'll connect you all the way up to Hamilton Town Center if you wanted to, but 79th Street's Fort Bend. Thanks.
Thank you. Good evening, Tom. How are you, sir?
Good, Dave. How are you? My name is Tom Crouch. I live at 7037 Indian Lake Boulevard for almost 50 years. I have ridden about 60,000 miles through 47 states across the United States. And I want to tell you the value of bike paths. My worst accident was on Boy Scout Road. I got hit, knocked to the middle of the road. The man tried to run away but was stopped by the police, stood over me, blew smoke in my face, and said I had no business on his road. You just need trails to protect yourself. You need planned trails. Obviously, you got to deal with drainage and protect the property owners. We're blessed as a city to have most of our communities have a system of sidewalks inside the community, but too often they don't connect to other communities. Like Sunnyside Road or Oaklandon, you have community after community with sidewalks, but you can't walk to the next community because there's a gap. So a master plan like this makes all the difference. But I agree with Ray that if you can possibly do it with a multi-use trail, not a sidewalk. It just gets used so much more. But we're certainly blessed with connectivity to downtown and the Fall Creek Trail. Penland Pike, 56th Street have sidewalks down most of them. So I encourage us to go ahead with this, but remember how dangerous it is to play in traffic when the road's too narrow.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Lynn Marler, and I live in the Bradford Creek Addition on 79th Street, which is a segment of road that I don't think is under consideration for a bike path. It's a very narrow road. When you approach Oaklandon, I've seen children, teenagers walking along the road and in danger of getting hit. My neighborhood, I have spoken with some avid cyclists there. I'm a 63, almost 64-year-old avid cyclist. I wish I could get out and do a little bit more. Currently, I can get to 116th Street. I can ride to Fishers. I can ride to Fort Creek. I cannot get to Fort Harrison State Park. I have to throw my bike in the back of the car and drive to the park. So I'd very much like to be able to ride from 79th Street, down Oaklandon, 63rd, and then Lee Road, and get to Fort Harrison State Park. So if there are any other 79th Street people here that could ditto that, I'd appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, I'm going to speak to this one. Can I do that? Okay. I live at 75th and Oaklandon, so I do understand the need at 79th Street that you were just describing. Mr. Anthony and the mayor and most people in this who serve on this board with me know we've been working very diligently on a pathway up Oaklandon Road. The thought behind that is it connects 6 different schools, and it could run from the far northeastern side of the city down to Pendleton Pike, which will get us to the fort. We've been working very closely with the Department of Public Works and several administrations, actually. So that has been addressed multiple times. 79th Street's a little unique because it is a narrow road. But if we can get to Oaklandon, that's going to be the segue into making the trip to Fort Harrison. So that is one that we're looking at very closely. Okay. Anyone else? Sir?
Sorry,
You're fine. Come on up. You're fine.
Speak up again here.
Yeah.
I can update people on the Fort Harrison 63rd Street entrance.
Okay.
That's something that's been in discussions with the DNR and the parks people. The problem is lost revenue. They don't want to open that up because they already have one entrance into Fort Harrison that does not get revenue. That's down by Boy Scout Road. They don't want to open up a second one. What they're considering is this. They're open to this idea, potentially. Anyway, it's on the bubble, I guess, thinking about it, of requiring bikes to have a bike pass. You would buy a bike pass, you would put it around the bar on your bike, and you would need that to be riding in the fort. And every so often they would go in and ticket people if they did not have one if they were riding in there. The benefit would be they would free up parking issues in there. It would free up the long wait to get into Fort Harrison, and it would allow connectivity from 63rd Street. Because that 63rd Street entrance, we've all seen it, and we've all, looked at that fence, and you see the people in the fort walking on the path, and you want to jump over there, and a lot of us do, myself not included, of course. Never would do that. But again, there it is, begging for you to get there. And better still, that path along Lee Road. There's a wide open space next to Lee Road that is just begging for a trail all the way from Fall Creek. It's wide open, the state owns it, it's easy. Everybody's looking at it as a perfect place to put things. So again, the DNR is aware of this. They are open to the potential of opening up the top at 63rd. They just have to find a way to get the revenue back. So again, everybody would have to have a ban, but I wanted you to let you know that that is something that has been under discussion.
Is that banned in addition to a park pass?
That's what they haven't decided. It might be. It might be an addition, but it wouldn't even be that much. And again, that's what they're deciding is how to work that. You'd have to have a pass to be able to ride your bike through there. They're just thinking of a way to get the revenue back.
You'd have to have a park pass and a bike pass.
That's what they don't know. If you get a park pass, you also get a bike band, or do you buy a park pass and if you want to ride your bike, you have a bike band. They're deciding that as well. But that actually is on some fairly high level discussions within the city because everybody, on a snowy day, I actually took a picture of this on a beautiful snowy day next to that gate where the gate is closed. I took a picture of all the footprints, where people had jumped across there. So I've got that picture. So anyway, people are jumping it. So, but anyway, sorry to come up a second time. I wanted people to know that that is under discussion. The entrance to 63rd Street is not, is not off the table. So anyway. Enjoy.
Thank you. We just need to know one thing. What size shoe do you wear?
Not the ones you'll see in the footprints.
I'm kidding. Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening. My name is George Wright, and I'll start out with a confession. I don't live in the city of Lawrence. I live on the other side of 465 in Lake Charlevoix. Tom Crouch and I and probably 2 or 3 dozen people were involved in the effort to try and get the Fall Creek Greenway Trail extended to come under 465 a few years ago. Since that time, I don't know if people have purpose to drive by that way, but unless the weather's pretty bad, there's a lot of use there. I would agree with the concern about saving trees and considering drainage when a trail goes in, but I just really see the trail on Boy Scout Road as a big value. I hear people, and I've worked with the city of Indianapolis on some other streets and trails, and you hear the concern about crime. I think what we're finding, if you really look at the statistics, is if you have legitimate traffic, bike traffic and pedestrian traffic, you probably see crime go down because it's conspicuous when people are out there doing things they shouldn't be, as opposed to auto traffic going by at 55 miles an hour. They don't really notice some of the things going on. Living in the Lake Charlevoix area with the extension of the Fall Creek Trail, I would say this has been a huge plus to the attractiveness of people to move to that area and for the quality of life for the people that already live there. So I'm on the other side of the fence there, or the moat of 465, but I think the extension of the trail down Boy Scout Road would be a huge asset. And yes, you have to take concern and pay attention to trees and drainage issues, but big quality of life issue, and I think it'd be a big plus for the city of Lawrence.
Thank you for your input.
We have another problem on Boy Scout Road. People drive, it's a 25-mile-an-hour road. People drive, I don't know, I mean, I personally drive faster than I'm supposed to, but regardless, I've been doing it for 40 years now, but that's not important. People drive down that road 35, 40. At night, there's already people that come from, I don't know, what bar to what bar. it's a pretty well-known, you can go up here, you can go to Fall Creek. We have had people in our yard, in their cars. We've had a guy pull into the yard, we've had him get out, look around like he doesn't know where he is because he's clearly drunk. We started to call the police. He backs into the people across the street from us, the people that right there on the corner of Hollywood, drives between their trees and goes out. A few years ago, our mailbox was taken out and the guy hit the tree down. An ambulance had to come and take him away. The more people we got knowing about Boy Scout and this thing, they're not just going to come in their bikes, they're going to come in their cars. And they're going to drive like that. And it's going to be worse than it already is. I used to walk on Boy Scout a lot. I don't because there was something that happened, but it's not that you can't. I did it last weekend. You can do it. Little children shouldn't be doing it, I agree. You can bike on it if you want. My doctor from the west side to park his car up at the old marsh and then drive up and then go into the park because he has a pass. But it's ridiculous. It's a very short road with a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit that isn't enforced. And we're sitting there watching some a few weeks ago, I don't want to go for everybody. A few weeks ago, somebody stopped to turn on Wallingwood, and this guy wasn't paying attention on his phone or whatever. He almost hits the other car, but instead, he slams on his brakes and slams into not the mailbox this time, but some rocks and our address sign. I mean, this stuff goes on all the time. I don't want to have to spend all my time, A, cleaning up my basement water, and B, rearranging our front yard because of the problems that the traffic causes. So, I'm sorry, that's it.
Thank you. Okay.
I agree with her because last Saturday I had somebody who was drunk come through my front yard, run over a truck, hit 2 trees, and ended up in the embankment and had to have the car towed. Another thing good about closing Boy Scout at Fall Creek though is you wouldn't get all the cut-throughs from Castleton coming to 56th Street and increasing traffic. But like I said, I agree with most of everything you said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Mark Grosskopf. I also live at 5805 Boy Scout Road, and aside from there's a lot of large trees along there, bushes, landscaping. It's really nice. And but aside from the issues we've already discussed, I tend to believe that my personal property is personal property and not a public park. And I understand people want to use facilities, but I really don't want to give my yard up. Now, I would be supportive of a bike lane. I think that could work because the speed limit's already 25. They used to enforce it. They really don't anymore. I think if they enforced it, I think that could work. And all the accidents I've seen, and there's been at least a dozen, have been off the road. They go off the road. And I've not seen any accidents on the road. So.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Bill Isham. I live at the corner of 56th and Boy Scout Road, 5601 North Boy Scout Road. I've lived there since 1986, and I know when it rains, it really rains. It pours, and all the yards on the east side as well on the west side of Boy Scout Road get flooded there too. And I tell you, we have had our share of accidents on that corner. In the last year, I've seen some happen right on the corner too, and even when I come home from work too. So I don't think I would like to have a bike path out there. I do think it would cause all the water to drain off into our yards.
Thank you.
My name is Amy Watkins. I live at 5896 Boy Scout Road. I'm the one on the first curve as you're heading north. I'm pretty much dittoing Nathan. I'm the lady that walks the white dog quite often, and there's so many times that I've been nearly clipped, not hit. The 25-mile-an-hour speed limit seems to be just a suggestion. No one does it. I've seen cars pass other cars that happen to be doing the 25 on a double yellow line. I'm all for the extra bike lane. I don't know if a sidewalk would I don't think that would solve the problem, because watching all those kids from Belzer, from Lawrence Central in the fall and the spring, it's just like the gentleman that was actually hit, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but it's just like, it just scares me. One of these days, one of those kids are going to be killed, and then we're going to decide that it's time to do something, so I don't want to wait that long. So I'm all for a bike path.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Phil Hoff. I live at 5822 Boy Scout Road. I am for the bike path. I don't know what that would look like or how, as far as trees and drainage and all of that. But I have 2 young kids, and my family's active. I really like to get out, and I'm only 1 street away or 1 house away from Watlingwood, but I am or even going the other way up to the court, Watson Court. But it is so dangerous for me and my children just to get 1 or 2 houses either way to either make it to the court or to make it to Wallingwood. They just can't ride their bikes, and having a safe way to be able to be active without having to throw bicycles in a vehicle would be a definite plus. And hopefully get neighbors out and talking more often, and just having a way to walk or getting the cars to slow down or closing the road. I don't know, but the year that the bridge was out and the road was closed was that was a fabulous year for to live there and to be able to just basically do what you want as far as going up and down the road and riding bikes and not having to worry about the traffic.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Therese Doblin, and I live at 8406 Somerville Drive. And I would like to say that I don't think that the statistics show that there's increased crime in areas where there are bike paths. I think that specifically with the Monon, it's my understanding that the houses that are on the Monon did not experience increases in crime, and that their property values actually increased. So I think that concerned people from Boy Scout Road might consider how the property value might increase for them if they give up a little bit of yard, get some better drainage, sacrifice a few trees and bushes, which may be honeysuckle in the first place. That is an undesirable plant. So I would like you to take that into consideration, how it might increase your property value.
Thank you.
Very large oak. Yeah, that's not true. I've done research, and it does increase crime.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak at the podium?
My name's Brian Holshausen, and I actually live to the east at 6894 North 400 West in McCordsville. But I do a lot of activity within Lawrence and enjoy the facilities here. And mine is more of a question. I don't know if there's any DNR representatives here. You, sir, seem to know quite a bit about what's going on. But my question is, are the nature preserves in the state park limiting the ability for the city to put a route along Fall Creek?
Yes.
Is that the main factor that's stopping that right now?
Most preserves in Indiana have passed through them. And the preserve that is kind of behind Kroger that leads all the way to Lee Road already has a road through it. And we've been out there with DNR people and the city people looking at it. And they're considering making that road, which right now has bulldozers and everything everything else on it occasionally, making that into a path which would connect for a fraction, a tiny fraction of the cost of going down Fall Creek.
Right.
But most preserves in Indiana do have trails through.
And so to follow that up, is it possible for the city to put any pressure or talk to DNR more about allowing that use through these nature preserves so that can happen? Because to me, that's an important connection here, and I think you hit right on what I was thinking is to connect the Indy Greenways up to Geist, and a fairly straight line route going along Fall Creek seems to make the most sense to me.
There's they've quoted a bridge, because you have to go across Fall Creek, the river, not the road. If you go that kind of behind 79th and Fall Creek way, you have to get a bridge, and the bridge and the abutments, not including the hydraulic study, would be about $185,000 installed. That's a full prefab pedestrian bridge, one side or the other, and that would connect the Geist area to basically Indianapolis, if we can get up Lee Road. If that's done, we have our trail all the way from Geist to Indy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening.
Hi. I just want to voice my support for a multi-use trail. My family and I are very active. We bike a lot, and we have a little trailer for our daughter, and we would definitely like a safe route to Fort Harrison, which we frequent very often. So,
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm Art Dzinski, 8141 Pelham Place. I used to live on Franklin Road. I'd like to know if there's a plan to upgrade the sidewalks along there or do a multi-use trail there. I know there was something a couple of years ago, a plan for that. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic there that's very dangerous with the quality of the sidewalks there. So I'd like that to be considered.
Mr. Anthony, will you address that? I think we've got some, not necessarily now if you want, but if you can meet with him afterwards, because I think there's something we can contribute to that. Okay. Anyone else?
Scott Courtney. I live at 5936 Boy Scout Road. I just want to voice my support for the multi-use trail. I think it's absolutely needed. I think it's a public safety issue, especially as others have noted, Belzer Middle School and Lawrence Central High School. Every day we're just very concerned a tragic accident is going to happen. And for our family, we moved there because it was an amenity, being close to Fort Harrison State Park, but yet we live across the street from it and can't access it. I'm open to the idea of closing Boy Scout Road, as others have suggested. I think that's a great idea. Traffic is a big concern. It speeds through there at all hours of the day. Look at my fence, you'll see where it goes. And we need to look at drainage. Drainage is another very big issue, so hopefully the engineering can take that into consideration and look at a good resolution for the drainage along Boy Scout Road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Latina Hill, and I live at Woods at Indian Lake, 6610 Colville Place. And I've recently moved here from Virginia, and prior to that was Germany, so we're used to having a lot of bike trails and trails to go from place to place and just get out and be active. Our family did a lot of bike riding, and my husband and daughters do a lot of running, so I think it would be great. I understand all the concerns that everybody has, but the community that I live in is really great. Everybody comes and gets out, and we, talk and congregate. We've even talked about walking, but sometimes you just don't have as many options to go walking, so I am for the trail. As long as you can put in, you know, what everybody has been asking for is like keeping the trees in and the drainage and all that, but I think it would be a really good idea to have the trails for Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else, sir?
Hello, my name is Brett Weaver. I'm in the Kensington Farms neighborhood, 6205 Albury Drive. So I think the people that have been talking about trails leading into Fort Harrison completely agree with you. It's kind of what I'd like there. Just to kind of build on top of that, I think if we can get a trail that's kind of leading up to Triton and Giacomo and all these wonderful restaurants and places that we have, I think that'd be great for residents as well as the businesses there. So just like that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let me just say with confidence, whether you're in favor or against the trails or a specific trail, I can't speak tonight, I commend all of you for the civil manner with which you've held this meeting tonight. It's not often we get in a public format and we see civility. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be respectful of everyone's time, to be respectful of everyone's opinion. This is how progress happens. So with that being said, I'm going to close the comment portion of this meeting. I do want to state one other thing. Tonight I've been presented...
Chairman, may I speak just for a moment, please, before we close?
Yes, ma'am.
If that's okay.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that I also live on Boy Scout Road, and I am absolutely in favor of a trail or a walking, biking path. I think if you do look at studies, it doesn't, I think, decrease crime in an area that is well lit, which I think Boy Scout Road is. I think you're going to find that your neighbors, more of them will be walking. There's going to be more opportunity for them to see things that go on. And I think criminals really just aren't going to congregate or do anything where they see families out walking or biking and that type of thing. And also the connectability to all the things that are coming to the fort. I think it'd be a huge benefit, both for the park entrance and also the new businesses and opportunities that we have going on here in Lawrence at this core area. Also, you'll find Indianapolis did a study. They found that with bike trail or bike paths, or bike lanes actually decreases traffic. Most people like to avoid areas where they know there's going to be bikers or there's bike lanes. So I just wanted to let everyone know and that I do live on Boy Scout and I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, ma'am. So once again, seems like an appropriate time. Before me, I've been presented with a petition. This is off the bike trail. Show of hands, who's heard about the new police station we're proposing in the city of Lawrence? Fantastic. Part of our due diligence for the process of the bid or letting process is to, in fact, have a petition signed by tax-paying individuals within the city limits. I'm going to leave this at the back of the table immediately concluding this meeting. If you would like and you're interested in signing in support of the police station, please take your time and write your name and print your name and write your name right above it, and you'll see it on the back table. Okay?
What's wrong with the one we got now?
We don't have one. Okay. Next item on the agenda is comments of the administration. Mr. Anthony, anything there? Okay. And final comment, citizens' comments pertaining anything bike path related, anything you wish to talk about? Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, please, so we can hear you over the audio and the television cameras.
Lynn Lynn Marler again. I just wanted to mention, and I don't know if any of you have seen the painted bike lanes, because that term came up, and how many times have you seen those bike lanes empty? I'm a bicyclist. My son is an off-roader, and I've talked to people who are even on-road bicyclists. We don't want to use those lanes. They're dangerous. They don't divide you enough from the traffic. So we would prefer multi-use trails. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Any other comments? Any comments from the board? No? Legal? Okay. This time, with no further comments before this board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.